Welcome back into the High School Fan Zone on a Wednesday night. We just wrapped up with Friendship. We're going to jump into the Pirate Fan Zone with Sherri Culwell on the phone here in a minute. I want to run through the playoff schedule for the softball and baseball teams still alive real quick. In softball, UIL, there's two teams left standing. That is Lubbock Cooper will play El Paso Parkland in a best-of-3 series. They start 5:30 p.m. Friday in Fort Stockton. 1 p.m. Saturday, 30 minutes later if necessary in that one. Friendship softball team is still alive against Keller. It's going to be a great series. It's two perennial 6A powerhouses in the 6A Division II by district round. They start 7 p.m. Thursday at the Hanner Sports Complex in Clyde. Come back at 1 p.m. Friday. That is on Friendship.tv. I know for sure. I'm still waiting on Sherri may know. I'll ask her here in a minute if their game is going to be radio or live streamed down there. In the TAP softball playoffs, Trinity Christian and Lubbock Christian both play tomorrow. Trinity Christian plays at Austin Hyde Park. Long road trip for them. Lubbock Christian actually plays the game before Friendship at the Hanner Sports Complex in Clyde. I think they start at 4 p.m. I need to fix that on that, get the time correct. Baseball playoffs, a few more teams left standing right now. Friendship, we just talked to them. They start against El Paso Eastwood, 6:30 p.m. Thursday, and Monahans noon Friday. That is right here on 97.3 FM across the aisle here, and then 97.7 FM if they go to Game 3. Coronado is in the 5A Division I playoffs against Abilene Cooper. They play at 5 p.m. Friday, 11 a.m. Saturday at Andrews High School. I don't think there's an official name of that field. That's on a network in town, not on Raymar. Lubbock Cooper baseballs against Wichita Falls Memorial in the Division II 5A playoffs. They start 5:30 tomorrow at home at First United Bank Park and then take a break for a day. Head to Wichita Falls Saturday at noon at Hoskins Field. That should be on 100.7 FM. I've not heard differently, so that usually is. Estacados against Brownwood in 4A Division I, 5 p.m. Friday at Abilene Cooper High School, 1 p.m. Saturday. And then Liberty is back in the playoffs after going 4 or 5 rounds deep. I can't remember last year in the first year of the program. They play Graham at Eula High School, 1 p.m. Friday. Come back 4 p.m. Saturday, 30 minutes later if necessary. That's on 93.1 FM. That is who's going to be playing, including the Lady Pirates of Lubbock Cooper. Sherri, are you there with us?
I'm here. Thank you for having me.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. I know you've...
Absolutely. I would rather be there, I know, but, we had to back up practice today. The weather has been a little crazy, and we had some kiddos that had some church obligations, had some homework obligations. So it's just been, kind of one of those little crazy days. But I'm so thankful that you have, called us and to let me get out there and talk about those kiddos because they deserve some props. So. Well,
when you're busy at this time of year, that's a good sign when you're a baseball or softball coach because that means your team's still playing.
Absolutely.
And the Lady Pirates are still playing because last week you beat Wichita Falls Memorial, who your baseball team also plays. You beat them in 2 games, 11-1 and 14-4. I know people will look at that and think that you kind of cruised through, but you had to. Your girls had to work a little bit, which I'm going to guess you don't mind because that kind of lets them work out some kinks, work out some bugs to see if you're going to see things here as each round goes by that you want to make sure you're ready for.
Absolutely. I mean, anytime you can get in, 2 7-inning ball games and obviously it go your way, that's obviously what you want is to win the ball games. But those longer games help us to see what our kids are made of, in the stretch. And without pointing fingers or saying anything negative about our district, there was only a few opportunities where we went between 5 and 7 innings, and I think that was. I'm not saying it hurt our kids, but it sure didn't help us in the long run. And so I think when we did have those, those last couple of games against Caprock and Emerald High that went long, and of course our series with Memorial, I think that does nothing but help us. And our kids get to play long, and we get to see if our, pitchers can go the distance. So you're absolutely right that it does nothing but help us. and we got to see a few things about us, and we got to test our grit.
And you got to swing the bats, which that's something you guys have done all season long.
Yes, sir.
The 14 and the 11 runs didn't surprise me at all because your girls can swing the bats. That's been a strength for you. We're coming up on the break, but I want to come back and get you to talk about that. About baseball, we were just talking to Chad Reynolds and a couple of his baseball guys from Friendship.
Yes,
and baseball pitching becomes a big deal, but to me, softball, maybe offense is there's a little bit more emphasis on it at this time of year. So we're coming up on a break, but we'll come back and talk to Sherri Culwell more about LCP softball when we come back on the Pirate Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score.
Bringing you the latest news from Lubbock Cooper Athletics. This is the Pirate Fan Zone podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Welcome back into the high school fan zone on a Wednesday night. We are talking Lubbock Cooper softball with Sherri Culwell. Sherri, I mentioned this. I don't know if you heard me. Has Coach Poe or Max told you? Are you guys on radio or live stream down there?
Yes, sir. I just contacted Coach Poe, and we're going to be on 100.7 The Score.
Okay.
And then LCISD Athletics YouTube channel.
Okay, so they're giving you the full treatment.
Yes, sir.
They should. Yeah, you guys have earned it. This is a great time of year for those guys, too. I told Chad Reynolds when he sat down, he said, "Are you excited?" I said, yes. I'm one of those old dudes that loves the playoff time of year. There's a lot to cover, but that just means there's a lot to choose from. So your girls, before we went to break, I mentioned how well you've hit. Every coach I've talked to after the carnage you guys have inflicted against them always says, they always say they can just hit. They're 1 through 9. And we've talked. That didn't happen overnight. That was something that when you got to Lubbock Cooper, you started building. You started kind of getting girls used to doing what you wanted to do.
Right. And the credit to the kids, they decided to buy in. And whether you're on the right side or the left side, like Addison Luna was going to bring her tonight, and she had a prior commitment as well, and she's so studious, and she just had to get on some stuff. So, but you take her; she's from the left side, and we work both sides of the plate with both of our kiddos. And 5 years ago when I got there, I brought this silly little I say silly, it's a little thing that we do, and we do it every single day, and it's the 3-plate. Front toss drill, and it is just so simple, but if you don't buy into it and do it right, you're never going to be able to pull, go up the middle, or go oppo, no matter what side of the plate you're on. And these kids they bought in, and they do everything we ask of them, and then I bring in Coach Rhodes, and he's a hitting guru, and we just get after it. And Coach and I talk all the time about how we just have to set a practice schedule. And don't get me wrong, we set a practice schedule every day, and these kids get in there and take care of business. But if they don't put the work in, it's not going to show up on the field. So for them to be hitting the way they are and fielding and pitching and catching and doing all the things, it's because they put the time in. They as young women know the importance, and they know how to compartmentalize things, and when they're out there on the field, they're out there on the field. And so it's all them. It's not us. It's all them. They put the time in, they put the effort in, and they buy in.
And I can vouch for the fact that they were working out there at Lubbock Cooper today. I went out to do some interviews with baseball guys, and I saw your girls. They were walking around with bats, and they had a look of business in their eyes. They know what time of year it is.
Right, and I tell you, people kids could panic or freak out because we had to go inside 2 days now because of the lightning, and our number one priority are the safety of the kiddos there. And we go in and we have a plan, and we execute that plan to the fullest, and it doesn't have to be 2-3 hours. It just has to be very compact and very intentional. And I will tell you, Coach Rhodes told me today that we had a couple of coaches there from Cooper that stepped in to watch our practice yesterday, and they complimented our girls on how focused and dedicated they were to what they were doing at each station. There was no downtime. There was no, grab button. There was just, they were going to business because they know what's at stake. And And not all these kids are going to go play college ball, but all these kids love each other. They love the game, and they just want to do what they're supposed to do. And they got after it yesterday and today. And like I said, we had to go in, and it took a little bit longer, and we had to do some other stuff. But they are nothing if not flexible, and I applaud those kiddos for doing that.
And getting to know your girls, and a couple of them in different sports, they also know that your team has a chance to do some things this spring. It's the second round now. You got to take care of business against El Paso Parkland, but this is a team, and we brought it up. I think when you had one or two of the girls in here, you guys watched as Monterey went 4 and 5 rounds deep the last couple of years. You've seen that a Lubbock team can do that, and this, to me, the torch got passed to you guys this year. It's your time to kind of represent Lubbock very deep in the playoffs, and your girls seem to sense that.
And, and I appreciate that. And, yes, there's been a precedent set here in Lubbock. And, yes, I guess if you're going to say it's been passed to us, then we'll take that and we'll run with it, so to speak. But the kids are not letting it get too big for them, which I appreciate. They don't look too far down the road, because I think we talked about this earlier, that our motto has been, success takes sacrifice, and we have to enjoy the journey. Obviously, there's always that long-term goal, but I think had we not won practice today, then we may not win practice tomorrow. So I think that they look at that, and, a lot of people are looking down the road, and I think, if, like you said, if we take care of business, then everything else will just, fall in place. But yeah, we've got Parkland coming up, and I don't know a lot about Parkland. I do know they have a kid that can throw an up ball, but so can we. And so I think we just go right at them.
Well, and we talked a lot about your hitting, but to not mention what Brooklyn Ray has done all season long, and then you add Alyssa Lozano in there and Brooklyn Collins, who come in and do some things. But Brooklyn Ray has been your ace out there, and when I saw her numbers from your first game of the playoffs, she's out there throwing 14 strikeouts in a 7-inning game. That's incredible. I don't care who you're playing, what level it is. When you're striking out 2 out of every 3 hitters, that's impressive to me.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and she works hard. And here's the thing about Brooklyn Ray. It's so funny, because it's almost like after each pitch, I'm calling the game, but after each pitch, we kind of look at each other and we nod at each other, and we either approve or disapprove of what happened. But, yeah, she's going out there and she's fighting hard, and she knows that every once in a while a kid might run into one of her pitches and get a hit or something. But if she just stays the course and she hits her spots and trusts her defense, which that's what she's been doing, then there's nothing that she can't do in the circle and help lead her team to those victories. And, so I commend her for her hard work. And, of course, like you said, Alyssa Lozano and Brooklyn Collins, and we're also going to have, Tatum Southard and Gunny. She's going to get out there, maybe throw a couple of innings. She's been throwing to us, and Southard, the last couple of days. So we've got some kids that are willing to step up and help out in any situation. Well, it's just a great group of girls to be around. And if y'all haven't met these kids, I encourage you to seek them out, because they are special.
Well, and they get a chance to continue their special season starting 5:30 p.m. Friday down in Fort Stockton. That's going to wrap us up in the Pirate Fan Zone. We'll be back after the break in the Patriot Fan Zone. I'm Randy Rosetta, and this is 100.7 The Score.
Thank you, Randy.
Talk to you.